Hi guys, it's Mrs. Tucker. Well, I've got some good news and some bad news for you. The good news is when y'all get to ninth grade, y'all get to use a calculator. Okay? That's the good news. So what's the bad news? Yeah, until then, your computation has to be done by hand. All right? Well, okay, in the 8th grade, there's going to be some units where we do use calculators just to speed things up, all right? So anyway, I want to take some time here to work some examples with you so that you've got good solid examples in your journal as reference, okay? We're going to be doing computation tests all year long, a bare minimum of 3 per 9-week grading period, so there'll be at least 12 of them we do. And once you get 100% on one of them during a 9-week period, you don't have to take any others, okay? You're exempt from all other computation tests. So I'm going to chunk this into 3 separate videos, and let's just get started, okay? Number 1 on the computation test always looks like this. It might be 2 numbers, it might be 3, but you're adding large numbers. Most kids don't have any problems with this, maybe just some computation errors. When I go through and add, when I'm doing the columns, I start by looking for groups of 10. Is there any way to form 10? Because it just makes it faster for me to add that way. So when I look at this column here, I see the 7 and the 3. That makes 10. Add 6 and you get 16. Carry the 1. Okay, can we make a group of 10 out of this column here? Yeah, we can with the 1 and the 9. That makes 10. There's 5 and 2, that's 7. So 10 plus 7 is 17. Okay. Can we make a group of 10 here in this column? Yeah, we can with the 1 and the 9. That makes 10. The 7 and the 8 make 15. So 10 plus 15 is 25. And let's see, group of 10 here. Yeah, we can with the 6 and the 4. That's 10. 9 more makes 19. 2 more makes 21. Okay, so the answer is 21,576. When you guys get done, I want you to either highlight your answer, put a box around your answer, or circle your answer. I want to be able to find your answer. Okay, the second problem on our computation test always looks like this. It's always a subtraction problem where you have to do some borrowing, all right? Well, first of all, let's make an estimate. Let's call this 300,000. Let's call this 100,000. 300,000 subtract 100,000 is 200,000, but I'm going to have to subtract more than that, so I know my answer should be a little less than 200,000, all right? So I've got myself an estimate. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to have to borrow here. I can't work this, can't do this. I'm going to go all the way over here, and I'm just going to start borrowing. And I'm just going to carry it all the way down the line. I'm going to borrow from the 3 and make that a 2. That makes this a 10. I'm going to borrow here, make that a 9. That makes this a 10. Borrow 1 here. That makes this a 9. That makes that 14. Borrow here, that makes that 13. This becomes 10. Borrow here, that makes the 10 a 9. That makes this a 14. And I can't tell you how many times kids mess up right here, especially if that's a 0, and they go ahead and make it a 9 also because they see all these 9s across the top. Don't do that. Okay, now we're ready to subtract. 14 subtract 7, 9 subtract 5, 13 subtract 8. Oops, made a mistake. Oopsie, glad I caught that. I want to get 100% on this. That's 0. 9 subtract 2 is 7, and 1. Okay? Now, I see every year a number of kids that want to get 100% so they don't have to do this over again. And what can you tell me that they do to double check and make sure this answer is correct? How have you been told to double check your subtraction answer? Yeah, with addition. Let's add that number back to it and see if we don't get that for an answer. Okay, so let me erase this so I can see what my original number was right there. I am going to add back 129, 857, and see if I don't get 300,404 back. Okay? Let's see what happens here. Let's see, that's 1314. That's going to be 10. That's also going to be 10. Did I get back to my original? Yes, I did. So I know that 170,547 is my answer. There's a lot of numbers happening here. Please highlight, circle, or box your answer. Okay? Number 3. All right. Every year we see kids do something really crazy. It's a common error, and the common error we see every year is kids do this. Can you tell me what mistake was made? Okay. Take a look at this. I have 40 and I'm subtracting 8.71. Well, okay, that's really close to 9. That's like taking 40 and subtracting 9. If I take 40 and subtract 9, what answer do I get? Yeah, I get 31. And anytime I do an estimate, I put my estimate in an answer, and I usually park it somewhere. I'm going to park my estimate up here. Okay? My estimate's 31. So are you going to get 31 when you do this? Yeah, I don't know what that is. What should they have done? First of all, find the decimal point in 40. Where is your decimal point in 40? Yeah, it's right there. The next thing you're going to do when you're adding and subtracting with decimals is line your decimal points up on a line. They have to be in a line. I like to draw the line. So here's my 40, 40. You can put extra zeros out here if you want to. And we're going to subtract 8, line up your decimal point, 7, 1. And I am going to throw those extra zeros out there. Now we can subtract, okay? And it looks like we're going to wind up borrowing, right? Here we go again. Makes that a 10, make that a 9, makes a 10. Borrow 1 whole, that makes that a 9, makes this a 10. Do not do this. I don't know why kids do that. Don't do that. You're done. You're done carrying at this point. All right, 10 subtract 1. 9 subtract 7, bring down your decimal point, 9 subtract 8, and the 3. All right, pretty easy. Okay, the next problem, number 4 on your computation test, is always addition with decimals. Number 3 is always subtraction with decimals. Number 4 is always addition with decimals. And what do you think the common error is here? Yeah. Kids don't know what to do with the decimal point. You have to do what with your decimal points? Yeah, you need to line them up. So here we go. Draw yourself a line. If you draw yourself a line, I'm going to think you're the smartest kid in the class. Second thing you need to do is go find all your decimal points. Where's the decimal point in 33? Yep, right there. Start lining them up. I want to put all of these decimals on the line. So 2.7, 0.45, and 33 point. Do you see how I wrote it real big too? That helps a ton. And let's go ahead and put in some zeros here as fillers. And now we can add. All right, here we go. 11. Makes 6 and 3, and don't forget what? Yeah, your decimal point. Circle, box, or highlight. Now, before we move on, is my answer reasonable? Okay, I've got 33 here. 0.45, well, that's a little under a half. I mean, if you were going to round it one way or another, you might call that 0. And 2.7 is real close to what? Yeah, that's real close to 3. And if you add those together, we get what for an answer? Is our answer reasonable? Yes, it is. Okay, moving on. Here's where things get a little more complicated. Now we're multiplying with decimals. And before we start, let's estimate, okay? 0.89, if you rounded this to the tenths place, that's 0.9. And if you rounded that a little farther, that becomes what? Yeah, you could call that 1 whole multiplied by 7.7, which gives us what for an estimate? Yeah, 7.7. But if I multiply by a number that's less than 1, should my answer be bigger than 7.7 or less than 7.7? Yeah, since 0.89 is a little smaller than 1, my answer should be a little smaller than 7.7. So, I don't know. Let's change it and make it a little bit smaller. What do you want to call it? 6.8 maybe? All right. Put it in a bubble. That's my estimate. Let me show you what the common error is on this. Common error, most kids know you don't have to line up the decimal point. If your teacher taught you to line up decimal points, that's fine. You'll still get the same answer. Take a look at this. I see a lot of this. What do you notice happening here? Okay, one of the things I notice is things are starting to slide. We're not getting numbers in the right columns. They're not being lined up properly. So then when I go to add, it's not adding right, because the mistake here is this number right here should not have been a 2. It should have been a what? An 8. This number here, we didn't even need that number there. All right. And then the next mistake I always see is incorrect number of decimal places. All right. Lots of ways to make errors here. So my suggestion, the kids that are the smartest either go get a piece of graph paper, or they turn their notebook paper sideways, some scratch paper, and use those columns to line things up. Okay, 89, I'll put my point right there. 7.7, put my point right there, because you don't have to line them up. You can if you want to. But these lines will keep everything in the right column, so when I get to the end I can add it all up right. So let's start multiplying. Let's see, that's 62. All right, now multiply this way. I know a lot of you guys like to put a 0 right there. That's good, you should. Okay, that's 63. That's going to be 62. See how nice those columns are to have? Let's add it up. 3, 5, 8, 6. Almost done. Where do I put my decimal point? Well, let's see here. I moved over 1, 2 places here. I moved over 1 place here. That's a total of 3 decimal places. So starting at the end here, 1, 2, 3. That's where my decimal point goes. So my answer is 6.853. Box, circle, or highlight your answer.